What are billionaires doing that we're not? Many of us are looking for ways to set ourselves up for success. And what better way to look for inspiration than to see what some of the world's most successful people are doing? Jim Quick, a brain and memory coach who's been an advisor to many CEOs and celebrities, compiled a list of habits of some of the world's most successful people and integrated it into what he calls the $1 billion morning routine. I'm a big believer in morning routines. They can really help shape the kind of day that you have, and they can help set yourself up for some quick wins. So I thought I'd give the Billionaire Morning Routine a try for 7 days and share what I learned from the experience. There's a lot packed into this routine, so I'm just gonna list everything out. Recall your dreams, make your bed, have a glass of water, about 20 minutes of breath work and meditation, 1 to 2 minutes of intense movement, cold shower, make some tea, journal, make a to-do list, a to-feel list, and a to-be list, read for about 20 to 30 minutes, make a smoothie, and do some online learning. Now I'm gonna get out in front of this before anybody calls me out, but I attempted to do as much of this morning routine as I realistically could. And there are 4 main takeaways I got from this experience. But first, let's explore how my attempt of this routine actually went down. Now, I'm really glad that I chose to first attempt this routine over a weekend instead of squeezing it into a weekday, because all in, this routine took about 2 hours to complete. And I did change up the order of some of these practices to better align with my own flow. So I started by waking up and drinking water while I recalled my dreams in a dream journal. I normally keep a dream journal by my bed, and while I do enjoy recalling my dreams, the act of writing actually does wake me up a little bit. So transitioning into journaling felt very natural here. I've been experimenting with automatic writing lately, and that's made journaling so much more enjoyable. Basically, for automatic writing, you don't stop writing. You keep your hand moving on the page even if you don't have anything to say. And while some days thoughts and ideas come to me no problem, there are other days where I'll just literally write over and over again, I'm not sure what to say right now, until an idea or a thought pops into my head. From there, I easily moved into my to-do list, my to-feel list, and my to-be list. I liked intentionally thinking about what I needed to get done that day. And for that to-do list, Jim Quick recommends writing down 3 things that you need to get done for work and 3 things you need to get done in your personal life. So doing that helped me set the direction for my day, and then acknowledging how I want to feel and who I want to be throughout the day helped me establish the right mindset. And this leads me to my first big takeaway. Journaling and reflecting inward first thing in the morning is seriously underrated. I feel like I've always heard that journaling is a good thing to do regularly, but it took me actually doing this routine to really understand why it's good for me. For recalling my dreams, I can normally see what kind of information my brain is processing and what sorts of things are on my mind. But then when I journal about what I'm consciously thinking about and I start to identify the things that I want to accomplish, I've found that focus comes just a little bit easier that day. So I get all of the thoughts, jumbled or not, out of my brain and onto paper, so it's kind of like I'm clearing a mental workspace. Okay, no more talk about writing. It's time for 20 minutes of meditation and breath work. The first 10 minutes was kind of business as usual because I normally meditate while I use my chiropractic wedge and my infrared light. Since I lay down for that, I use mala beads to help me stay awake and not get too relaxed. And then for the next 10 minutes, I sat upright and did box breathing or alternate nostril breathing. But I had trouble keeping this up for 10 minutes, and so I would just naturally shift back over to regular old meditation. From there, I transitioned into 20 to 30 minutes of reading. I've been reading Atomic Habits by James Clear lately, and I have been loving it. So honestly, time just flew by. And once I finished reading, my husband Alex would usually wake up. And yes, I did all of these things while he was still asleep in the same room. So once he got up, we could finally make the bed and I could do the intense movement and cold shower. I think you can already tell how I feel about this part. I chose to do jumping jacks and high knees for about 2 minutes, and this was enough to warm my body up to even consider doing a cold shower. Now, I hate being cold in the morning, and doing a cold shower was just about the last thing I wanted to do. But you know what? I committed to doing this routine for a week, so I did it, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I really didn't like it. It didn't get easier over the course of the week. I didn't start to enjoy it, but I will say I did feel really energized by the time I got out. After recovering from self-inflicted misery, I then went on a walk with Alex and our 2 dogs. And this leads me to my second key takeaway from this routine. But before I share my next takeaway, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already, especially if you've made it this far into the video. Okay, shameless plug complete, let's move into takeaway number 2. So in this routine, there's no allocated time for getting outside or to move your body more than that 1 to 2 minutes of that vigorous activity. But I think that's a major downside of this routine. Exposure to daylight is a great way to wake up, and you're getting much needed vitamin D. In fact, it's really important for you to get enough sunshine during the day so that your body can produce the melatonin you need to fall asleep. So technically, my walk wasn't part of the Billionaire Morning Routine, but I think it should be. And it's personally something I'm not willing to give up in my own routine. Besides, my dogs would be devastated if they did not get their morning walk. Now, once I got back from my walk, I made breakfast with my husband. While the Billionaire Morning Routine specifies having tea followed by a smoothie, I wanted to have a meal that I knew would leave me feeling energized and satiated. The smoothies I like have minimal protein, and you know what? I don't really want to put protein powder in my smoothies because I don't enjoy them as much, and I like getting my protein through other sources. And as far as tea goes, I don't really like tea. The last part of this routine involves online learning. When I had enough time to complete this part of the routine, I ended up doing things like watching parts of nutrition-related masterclasses. But you know what? I actually found myself getting distracted. At this point, I was ready to really start my day and start tackling the things that I had written down on my to-do list. So after about 4 days of attempting this part of the routine, I ran out of time, or maybe I should say I didn't make the time. I ended up taking either a longer walk or enjoying a longer breakfast with Alex. And that leads me to my next takeaway. It's kind of a 2-part takeaway. I think this routine is much more doable if you live alone, and on the flip side, there isn't any emphasis on spending any time with your loved ones. And of course, this doesn't apply to everyone, but since I'm sharing my personal experience, I think this is something that's worth mentioning. I felt like I was so focused on doing these practices and getting everything done, and I couldn't savor the time I had with Alex in the mornings, or even my dogs for that matter. While I love having structure to my day and I love having a morning routine, sometimes it's nice to hang out while eating breakfast, and sometimes it's nice to just play with the dogs. I have one final takeaway, and I think this is probably the most important one. You have to find a routine that's realistic to your circumstances and tailored to your needs. For me right now, a 2-hour morning routine isn't sustainable, and it's not even what I want. That may change at some point, but for me right now, it's not for me. When I did this routine on weekdays, I felt way more time pressure than I would have liked, and I had to wake up earlier to fit everything in. And I think that's okay to a certain extent, but it made me start to consider how I wanted to use that time. For instance, I found that doing 20 minutes of breathwork and meditation instead of my usual 10 minutes really didn't add that much more value, and in fact, it became something that I stopped looking forward to. Now, you might be surprised to hear that I'd like to experiment a little bit more with cold showers. Even though I really do not enjoy the sensation of being cold, I did feel really energized after the fact, and I want to see if it's something that I might want to incorporate into my routine in the summer months after my morning walk. No promises there, but I do want to experiment, so stay tuned for that. I think it's a great idea to get inspiration from different morning routines, but ultimately you have to test things out for yourself and determine what works best for you. Routines are habits, and habits happen without us thinking about them. You shouldn't have to think about your routine once it's been established. It should be something that you can use as momentum to start your day. So what do you think about the Billionaire Morning Routine? And what does your current morning routine look like? Let me know in the comments down below, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys!